As you can see and hear, we're not gonna hear any sounds because I just want to show you the mixer and its layout and functionalities. So let's start saying that it's divided into two main blocks. The first one is the mixing block, and it stops right here. And the other one is the output section. So let's start with the mixing block. The mixing block consists of 4 stereo inputs, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have an active patch bay with send and return. It's useful if you are playing a big system, so that you can just set your outputs and then direct them to other effects while keeping everything kind of organized. Each one of the 4 stereo inputs has a dedicated stereo VCA, is the V symbol here, and they can be used also with a single mono source that will act on both of the input, or with 2 individual sources to create a pan effect. Then the signal flows to the attenuator and the clickless mute. The clickless mute acts before the VCA, so you can still mute the signal even if another CV is plugged. Each one of the 4 stereo inputs has individual outputs, dual individual outputs, so that I took this inspiration from a Mackie that I had at home, because I found the individual outputs in a mixer really useful. And usually I tend to send this individual out to my audio interface so that I can have individual recordings for each one of the stereo inputs in my modular case. And and they can be used, of course, the 4 stereo inputs can be used also as mono with just a stereo potentiometer, so it can be used with 8 individual signals because you have 8 individual outputs. This kind of summarize the mixing section. The next part is the output, and as you can see, we have a master volume knob. The master knob controls, wait, I'm adjusting a little bit the microphone so I can be closer to the modules. Let me see if it works. It's gonna be a weird moment. Yeah, okay. So the output section has 3 stereo inserts that with 2 of them can be used also as a pre-listen for the dedicated headphones output. So, I mean, you can plug, for example, an ST mix from Bifaco. The stereo outputs can go directly into the one of these auxiliary input. And if you want pre-listen something, this comes especially from the DJ world, when you usually pre-listen to something before putting it in your speaker and your final stage. So you can just plug it here and listen to it through your headphones. And when you click this button, it will redirect the auxiliary inputs to your main mix. So you don't have to unpatch the cables to have it in this output. You can input. It can go directly from there just by clicking the switch. Or it's really useful, this feature, for example, if you're playing with drummers or with another musician, you can send him one of the individual output where you have, for example, the kick, and he's gonna hear only to that. And you can still listen to the whole mix through the other headphone driver. So this summarizes the auxiliary inputs layout. And we have also master volume control. The master volume controls affect these 3 outputs. There are balanced mono outputs, LNR, and a combined stereo. The balanced LNR can be used, for example, for your PA, or if you're playing live, you can send them to your audio engineer, and he's gonna deal just with a stereo output. And since they're balanced, they can be used also on stage. The stereo output combines the 2 balanced output, and it's affected by the master volume knob. And usually, for example, it's designed to go to a laptop directly or to your phone if it accepts a stereo microphone output, and also to a recorder. So maybe you are playing live, for example, and you are sending these two balanced mono output to your audio engineer, and the stereo output goes to your recorder, so that you can keep record of your gig live. Then we have the two headphone drivers. As we said before, they have a dedicated pre-listen stereo input that can be routed to the main mix, and they are also with its own output and a dedicated volume knob. If you are worried about maybe the fact that this normalized and not normalized, sorry, these balanced output are not like coming in a standard form, we are actually developing also an expander that will connect to another module that we have these outputs in the standard 6.3 millimeter jack. But even with these outputs, you can just go straight to your phone or use a simple adapter like this one that has a female 6.3 jack connector and a TRS 3.5 millimeter on the other side. So I think that a modular performance mixer should have 3.5 millimeter jacks, but of course we are open to all kinds of configurations. And then coming to the last part, I want to introduce you also Singoli. Singoli is a standalone module, but that can connect to Tutto Sempre on the back thanks to this cable here, to this JST connector. Tutto Sempre can accept up to 2 Singoli, and this means that since it has 7 mono inputs with their dedicated attenuation pot, you can add 14 mono channels to Tutto Sempre. And since they are connected with a ribbon, you can place them in other part of your case and having it useful for you. And the Singoli have a switch on the panel that activate or deactivate the connection, so you don't have actually to go on the back of your modular case to unplug the ribbon if you don't want it to be connected to Tutto Sempre. And has also a dedicated output jack, so it can be used standalone as a 7-channel mixer in 6 HP. The feature maybe that gets more out of the mixing capabilities and adds functionalities in the modular world is the transient detector output. This output here combines the input, all the 7 inputs, and extract a transient CV output that can be used to trigger, for example, a VCA or a compressor and create, in this sense, a side chain for your audio effects. So, yeah, that's it. This is our take on mixing in Eurorack, and I hope that you liked and enjoyed. So, thank you. That's you can put two of the Singoli in a Tutto Sempre on the back, yes. 14 mono inputs and 4 stereo output with 3 auxiliary stereo inputs. So you can have up to 7 stereo inputs and 14 mono input in it. If you, yep. Thank you. There are other questions? No? Yeah.